Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. This is my first video. I have videos from like 3 years back, but this is like my first video in the bookish community, so I'm really excited to film my May TBR video. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. So I'm sitting more so on the side so that I can insert the pictures of the books here because some of them I do not have. So I have 10 books on my May TBR, and usually that's a lot because I have a 7-month-old baby, but my husband's out of town for the next 5 weeks, so I'm going to be doing all the reading that I could possibly do. I am very excited for the month of May. I have some good picks, I hope, on my list, so let's just jump right into it. So something I do to try to help myself with book buying is if I have a TBR and I don't own the books, I buy them as I read them. Let me rephrase that. To help with buying books, like I don't go to the bookstore and buy a bunch of books at once. I'll go and buy like 4 books at a time. That's my limit. I only buy 4. And I try to stick to books that are on my TBR because if I'm being honest, I have all of my TBRs written out on Goodreads until August. So I know what I want to read for the next few months, so when I go to the bookstore and if I see the book, I'll buy it. So that's pretty much how my TBRs go and how I buy books. I just got back into reading earlier this year. I picked up my first book at the end of January, and it was a good first pick, so it instantly hooked me. So I don't have a bookshelf, so I try to limit my book buying until I can get a bookshelf. So for now, this is what I do for TBRs. I just make a list, and then as I read a book, once I hit like 50% through the book, I buy my next one, and they just get delivered. If I don't see them at the bookstore, I usually go to half-price books. I try to avoid Barnes & Noble. I like half-price books, and I know I probably shouldn't buy them off of Amazon, but I do get majority of my books from Amazon. So let's just go ahead and get started into the TBR. So these are in no particular order. However, I will start with the book that I'm going to read first because I put the audiobook on hold at my library about 12 weeks ago and it became available a couple days ago. So I figured I'd start May off with it, and that is The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. So I try to go into books not knowing anything, like super blindly, like just what I hear from Book Talk or BookTube, like anything that those people have shared is what I know. Like I go into books blindly, and it just makes it so much more fun reading. So I can't tell you too much about these books, but just know that I thought that they sounded good at one point, and that's why they're on my TBR. From my understanding, The Four Winds is about the Dust Bowl way back when in the early 1900s, and it's made a bunch of people cry, and I'm freaking stoked because I'm not an emotional person when it comes to movies and books. I'm really not. I got teary-eyed reading Firefly Lane and Fly Away by Kristen Hanna, and every reading vlog I've watched with Four Winds, everyone's ugly crying. So I am so stoked to see if this book will make me cry, and that's like super weird to say, but that's pretty much why I want to read it. I want to read all Kristen Hanna books, but that's why I'm skipping all of her old ones and going to her most recent book, is because of everything that I've saw and heard about the book. The next book on my TBR is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I found this at Half Price Books, and I bought it because I knew it was on my TBR, but I bought it thinking that it was on my May TBR when it was actually on my June TBR. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna add it to my May TBR. So that's this. I don't exactly know what this book is about. It sounds good. It's compelling and creepy. That's right up my alley. I love thrillers, horrors, psychological thrillers. Anything like that is super up my alley. So I'm really excited to read this book. I may read it after The Four Winds just because I already have it with me and I don't have to go buy another book. So I may do this one second, but I'm really excited for this book. I saw it at Half Price Books, instantly picked it up. There was literally no hesitation because I want to read this so bad. And also, I don't know if this is weird, but like the pages are like super white. Like a lot of books have like off-white pages. This is super white, which is weird, but fascinates me. So I also want to read The Northern Spy by Flynn Barry. If I'm being honest, I can't remember what this book is about at all. Reese Witherspoon made it sound so interesting, and as soon as I saw that she picked it for April for her book club, I instantly added it to my TBR for May, because by the time I saw it, it was already April and I already had a huge list of books I wanted to read, which, by the way, my April wrap-up will be coming soon. I started out with only having 7 books on my TBR and I read 11, so that was fun. But yeah, so I'm excited for The Northern Spy. Really, really intrigued and ready to see what that one's about. I also want to read The Hunting Wives. That book was a book of the month pick for May. No, a book of the month pick for April. It was an early release, and after everyone was getting it and talking about it, I decided I wanted to read it for May. That goes on sale on May 6th, I believe, so it's not going to be one that I'm starting with, but it'll probably be towards the middle. The next book I want to read is The One by Kiera Cass. I've already read The Selection and The Elite. Now I'm just reading the 3rd book, and then I'll read the 4th one next month, and so on until I finish the series. It's so right now. I loved The Selection. The Elite kind of irked me, because it went from 6 girls to 5 in like 300 pages, which was like so not what I was expecting. I was expecting the book to end with like who the winner was, so that way the next book would just go right on into it. So now obviously I know who the winner is, because it's going to be the main character, because that's just how books and movies go. But I want to see what happens, so I'm excited to read that book. I did hear though that the series starts out super strong and just blows at the end, so we'll see. The next one is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. It's also a Reese Witherspoon book of the month pick. I don't remember which month of which year she picked it, but everyone's been talking about it. Sounds super interesting. Apparently there's a lot going on in the book, but what I know is that, if I'm not mistaken, it's a black girl that babysits for a white family, and she goes to the grocery store and they accuse her of kidnapping because she's black and the little girl's white. But apparently that happens at the beginning, and then so much more happens throughout the book, and I'm excited to see where it goes. The next book I want to read is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've heard that book is super good. I've never read any Taylor Jenkins Reid, so I thought I would start with that one. I do want to read all of her books. I know that The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six are like her most popular ones, but I definitely want to read all of her books. Kind of like Kristen Hanna, I want to read all Kristen Hanna books. I want to read all TJR books, so excited to read that one. I'm in a book club on Facebook, and a lot of people have been talking about the book recently, whether they read it last month or they're going to read it in May, or they read it a couple months back. Everyone has good things to say about it, so I have really high hopes, and I hate going into books with super high expectations, because I know I'm always going to be disappointed every time that happens, and I go into a book with super high expectations. I am severely disappointed, but we shall see what happens. Maybe this one isn't like the others. We'll see. The next book I want to read is Cinder. This is an oldie. I bought this book when I was a senior in high school, so back in like 2014, 2015. Never read it because Paper Towns by John Green put me in a reading slump, and I'm talking like a reading slump for like 5-6 years. The last time I picked up a book was my senior year of high school, and then I just picked up a book earlier this year, so it's been like 5-6 years almost. So I've had this book for a while. My sister read it. She said she enjoyed it, and she actually has the other books. I don't think she knows that there's a 4th book because she doesn't have the 4th book. I bought this book a long time ago, didn't end up reading it, gave it to her. She read it, she loved it, bought the others. So I'm going to read this book and give it back to her, and most likely just buy my own copy, because I love having books that I've read, whether I like them or not, on my shelf, so I can see like everything I've read. But I want to read this book. I don't exactly know what it's about, but the genre is sci-fi fantasy, I believe, which is not my go-to. I did read Reboot and Rebel by Amy Tintera, and I enjoyed those. I loved Reboot. Rebel wasn't as good, but that's usually how it goes. The first is amazing, the second isn't as good. Those were sci-fi fantasy, more so just sci-fi, and I enjoyed that. And then I know that the Selection series is fantasy, so it's not my go-to genre, but I'm trying to branch out more because I literally read thrillers and romance, and that's it. So I want to read this one. I'm going into it blindly. Like, I'm reading the back and I'm just like, I don't really want to read anymore. So I'm excited about this. Is it supposed to be like Cinderella thing? I don't know. I'll find out when I read the book. Next, I want to read My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. That book looks super interesting as well. Also a thriller, but that's okay. It's okay to read thrillers. If I have other genres and the majority are thrillers, then that's fine. To my understanding, that book is about murder. Love me a good thriller with murder mystery / suspense in there. So stoked about that. I may pick that one up earlier in the month. I don't know. The last book I want to read, again, this is in no particular order, so I don't know when I'll pick these up, but the last book on the list is a Lisa Jewell book, which I didn't realize she had a lot of books, and I saw that one and it looked interesting, so I added it to my to be read on Goodreads. But when I joined that book club on Facebook, so many people rave Lisa Jewell. And a lot of people have actually said that Then She Was Gone apparently is very predictable, which, if I'm being honest, I am not good at predicting what happens in books. Like, I'll have like little predictions in my head and it's like so far off from what actually happens. So I don't know if this book will be predictable for me, but I'm excited to read it and see if maybe I can predict what happens. I don't know. But that's all 10 books on my TBR. I know I can get through all of them. If I add more books is the real question. I don't know. I have a couple books that I have purchased that I don't have on any TBR sitting on my shelf that I may squeeze in if I have time. We shall see. That's my TBR for May. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I would love to hear what books you have on your TBR. So go ahead and leave a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on your bell notifications to be notified when I upload. I don't know how frequently I'll upload. I do have an April wrap-up video coming after this, and then as far as after that, I have no idea what I'm going to post. I don't want to stick to just bookish stuff. I'd like to do like lifestyle type things, vlogs. I'm not going to do vlogs where I include my baby because I'm not comfortable filming him. But other than that, that's the plan so far for this channel. So let's see where it goes. Okay, bye guys.